Hello, welcome to Harrow Park Model Railway and part 3 of Triang Locomotives. We're going to discuss this week the R54, the Canadian Pacific, and the R56, the Baltic tank. Both designed with the Dominions in question. Right. First of all, I'm going to just move this one. This is one that you'll see towards the end of the video in more detail. It's mint condition. I'll just move that one out of the way. And here we got the Canadian Class 23, designed after a Canadian locomotive from the 1920s. And when it first came out in December 1954, it had no coupling on the front. But in 1956 they changed the cowcatcher on the front to incorporate a coupling. This one is a 1959 or perhaps December 58 coupling, and so that dates this one about the end of 59. Probably end of 58, beginning of 59. It's got a light in the front which came out in 1959, and if I turn it to the side you can see where the light is. The light is here. It works really good. I've quite delighted with it. I've got several of these, and it was designed with the Canadian market in mind, and goes well with the yellow old-timer coaches as well as the 1950s coaches that they brought out for the Canadian market. The tender has got 2 bogies, which made the tender actually expensive to buy as an individual item, and but it had no name as such. It was just referred to as a Canadian Pacific or a TC Pacific. And that changed in 1962 when they actually gave it a name, and it became then Hiawatha. I'll try and get a bit closer so you can see the label on there. You can see the label. Hiawatha. There's a slight bit of damage to it here, but it's just a paper label, and that was added in 1962 towards the end of its life. I'll just move the camera back again. Right, and that one's actually in a process of being repaired at the moment. The Wildshirts gear here is needs a bit of fixing, but it does work. But it's a restoration project at the moment. I've got another tender here, and this is the same as the other tenders, although the metal seems to have changed its color here. But at the end it's got a German style Pico coupling. I actually bought this one in Germany, so it was from one of the export models that was sold in Europe. The Canadian Pacific was dropped from the UK catalogue in 1964, but it was still sold abroad, mostly in Canada, until about 1972. So it was the only steam locomotive designed for the Canadian market. Then we've got the in 1955 we have the R56, which is this one here, and this one was based on the WAB locomotive for New Zealand. And this was not just sold in New Zealand, Australia, India and South Africa, but was actually made in these countries. This particular one, it's very bent with cellulose acetate plastic. It will run, but it does catch on the warped plastic. This one was actually made in 1955 in New Zealand. It's actually got on the bottom, made in New Zealand. I was quite delighted to get a New Zealand version. I bought it as an English one and only found out it had New Zealand on the plastic about 2 years later during a service. But cellulose acetate, it's warped tremendously, but a New Zealand built one, so I'll keep it as it is. I do have, if I do want to run it, I've got a polystyrene body, which is actually a made in England one, and that's actually got the brass valves, whereas if you look at the first one I showed you, this one here, it's actually got plastic valves. But made in New Zealand. It's the only New Zealand item I've got, so I'm quite proud of it. And I can put this UK body on there if I want to run it on the layout so that it doesn't catch on the plastic. So that's that one. And now I've got a really lovely one from 1962. Oh, by the way, the early one was also made in South Africa, which is extremely difficult to obtain. And there was talk of it being made at India, but I think it was only done at the Natal factory in South Africa. Of course, made it also in Australia and New Zealand. But now we've got another British version. I'll bring it into view. And this one is absolutely beautiful. This is, I'll move the camera back a bit. This is 1961, and it was 1,600 of them were made for the UK market in 1961 in maroon. The plastic was molded in maroon. I'll just move it back a bit. You can see, look at the Waldschutz there, and it's picked out in red, which is really lovely. And I tried to control it with one hand, right hand. Right, and the front part was actually picked out in black per hand, as the plastic itself is the maroon. It's got the late brass valves here, and the decals here, Triang railways. It's absolutely mint condition. There is absolutely no damage to the transfers whatsoever, and the number at the back is picked out in sort of a darker red. But what I think is really fantastic is the valve gear picked out in red. That's absolutely lovely, this one. And I didn't pay a lot for it. I bought it in Germany from someone who just didn't know that it was quite a rarity. That movement. I'm gonna hold the bogey and then try to see that. Look at that movement. That is absolutely fantastic. And it's a fantastic runner. Oh, it runs away. It's actually a fantastic runner. Oh, trying to get it into the camera. And it's actually one of my best. It's in the top 5 of my best runners. And it's also in the top 5 of the rarest locomotives that I've got. So quite delighted to have this one, and it's a pleasure to run. So today we looked at the R54 based on the Canadian Class 23 with the large tender, and we also looked at the Baltic tank, the WAB locomotive from New Zealand, and also the maroon version from 1961, which was done to try to boost sales, but only about 1,600 of them were made. And the last ones in black was actually sold, I think, in 1966 in New Zealand. That was the last country to produce this. Some people say it's based on a New Zealand design. Others say Australia or India, even South African. So, but that was a general intention, to build a generic locomotive that would fit in with all the dominions. And well, that's it for this week. We've only covered two locomotive designs, and next week I'll have two British steam locomotives for you. So thanks very much, and I'll say bye bye for now. Bye bye.